many of you have visited the museum next door and admired the continually changing and very interesting exhibits. I would like to introduce now the woman who is the creative head of those, our museum chair, Maureen Fleming.
I'm doing a prelude to the program, so it's just a quickie. My name's Maureen. I grew up on Huron Avenue, along with the Phantom here, along with Todd Scott over there. As a preteen, can you hear me now? Yes. I moved over to Elenda, near Culver. And so when I got my apartment, I, jazzed up my bedroom. I turned on my clock radio as loud as it could go to KHJ or KLOS, whatever would tune in. Jump on the bed, I'm looking out my window, and I see apes on horseback. I recognize these apes from the Planet of the Apes. And I realized at that moment, I've got a really good view of MGM Lot 2. Okay, so fast forward, and I meet up with Donnie decades later. He shows me a call sheet from the Planet of the Apes, the TV series that was happening over there. I recognized the name at the bottom, the second AD who signed the call sheet, who was a retired, very successful UPM. I sent her the call sheet. She said, "How did you get this? Nobody has this." So then Donnie shows me a call sheet from Young Frankenstein. I recognized the DGA trainee at the bottom, who was a very successful producer who retired. I sent him the call sheet. He says, "Where did you get this? Nobody has this. This is a gem." And I explain, well, my friend who used to trespass the lot, he used to take the call sheets from the guard shack so that he would know what was filming the next day, maybe even ditch school for it. So this is just showing you that Donnie unknowingly preserved some of Hollywood/Culver City memorabilia and history, and without even knowing it. And if you want to see those call sheets and a trespassers list that somehow made it through the through a chase in the back pocket, and 50 years later, it's out in the glass case in the museum. So you can check that out on your way out. When I'm volunteering in the museum, which is first and third Sundays with my friend, shout out Steve Newton over there, I occasionally, someone will come in and they will see that sign that says MGM, no trespassing allowed. And they'll look at it and they'll say, I snuck in. And I say, do tell. And they are so, when they tell it, the story, when they recount their story, it's with a gleam in their eye. You can tell this memory was cherished by them. And I cherish my memories too. Quick shout out, Mike Escarzaga. He helps the Phantom and I with all our projects in a zillion ways. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. All right, now it's time to get serious. Donnie Norden, also known as Phantom of the Backlots, is a longtime resident of Culver City and author of a popular series of books, which are in the back, which chronicles his real-life experiences on the studio backlots. His fascination with the backlots influenced his long career working for the studios, including over 30 years at Universal? Not MGM? He peered through holes in the MGM fence line on the way to school, and that sparked a sincere admiration to discover what was on the other side of this forbidding boundary. The yield to temptation presented itself the day he found a large eucalyptus tree had fallen through the fence, creating an opening just big enough for a boy to crawl through. He would soon find out that studio security had an opposing viewpoint for his explorations. It was from that day that Donnie became a studio explorer, a caretaker of artifacts, he discovered, and unknown to him at the time, a historian. Please welcome Donnie Norton.
All right. So I've got a lot of history. I'm going to focus on 2 decades, the 60s and the 70s, the most colorful decades, and those are the slice I was given to live. So the 60s was a preparatory of what the 70s was going to be for me. And when I say preparatory, because I was still young. So I was looking through holes in the fence and going to school with my Rat Patrol lunch pail. And,
Big stars.
well, I jumped on you there. Okay. Well, what I go with that is, to give you an example, so I'd go to school with this lunch pail, and the Rat Patrol would be parked right there at the main gate on Overland. I used to leave an hour early to go to St. Augustine's, just because the whole drive on my bicycle was along the studio fence line. So I just spent an hour looking through everything, seeing where these holes, wondering where they turn into. And it took a while before I actually found that hole in the fence, but we're gonna start, what am I looking at here?
Where do you want? That's your house?
Okay, yeah, that's where we're at. So he's got it circled. That's fascinating. Okay, so I'm seeing where we're at. Now, I still have that house. I'm there now. It's got a full neighborhood. It's all changed. So this is an AI simulation of 1964. No, this is great, because in my backyard, I could hear combat, and I didn't know it was combat. I just heard machine gun fire all day long, all day. And one day I'm out there setting up my soldiers like this, plastic soldiers, and working against their soundtrack. So I'd set them up, wait for them to say action, and then all the machine gun fire would start, and I had a little BB gun. I'd shoot my guys, I'd throw dirt at them. I made my own battles. I directed my own scenes of combat. And so go ahead and show an AI version.
Move up, man. Scene 12, take 4. Action!
They're filming again.
Get down, fire!
Thank you. Boom. RG, follow me.
And that's a quick little AI example of like me in my backyard and what I'm hearing and what I'm living. And combat was already on the air. 1964, we had great TV. Channels 2 to 13 had everything great. You didn't need much else. Like today, you got 2,000 channels, and it's I could barely tolerate. Back then, you had what? Twilight Zone, Andy Griffith, Combat. You had classic TV. Just nailed the Culver City series, and so that looks like me. It's an AI version of it.
Last AI.
Afternoon, Miss Carter. Lovely day, isn't it?
And that's just an example of what it's like. And there's my lunch pail where I elaborated a little bit, where I'd walk by or drive by my bike on the way to school. And all this equipment would usually be parked up here. And I'd have my lunch pail, and I just was living my lunch pail. I mean, here it is, there it is. And it was an adventure that was priceless. And so you can go forward, Mike. Oh, here's an AI. And she was a doll. So I've known her since 1966. That's a long time. And she lived on my street before she showed you her place on Alinda. And there's my little St. Augustine sweater. And her little outfit, she went to the school for all the sacraments. And it was really fun to go to her house. She's a trip in herself. She's like the Partridge Family in the 60s. It really was. Her brother had a band, and she had sisters. And her mother was like Angie Dickinson, a policewoman. So her mother was a cop. So when you go knock on her door to frequent the girls, there's a target that meets you, a shooting range target, as the door opens. It's got a bullet hole here, it's got a bullet hole here, it's got a bullet hole down there. And it's just to remind you that the mother's very proficient with a sidearm, and watch out what you do with these girls. So that's Innocent Little Marine. It was a fun street we grew up on, and all the MGM stuff carried over into our world. So like the gunfire especially. MGM is known for war TV. From 1960, combat to 1970, we had shows Combat, the Rat Patrol, Garrison's Guerrilla, Jericho. They're all shoot 'em ups, and that just carries right into my yard. I was destined to be this. This is what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to work in Hollywood. Oh, this is a great picture, 67, 68. It's one of the few ones I have without a nun being in the corner. So that was like a year off. It was a blessing because it's a lot easier than the nuns. And what's funny here, a lot of these people got kicked out of school for sneaking into MGM. So by 7th grade, the school had enough of us. And so what you have here is that guy, there's me. And this guy was the most innocent guy in the world. He'd never trespassed. His name is John Orden. I used his name as an alias because my name's Don Norden, and I could kind of get away because I knew he'd never get in trouble. And if you see on the trespasser sheets, they eventually caught me. They had to hire a specific guard. It took 2 years. It took 2 years to catch me. And so these guards had to report to their watch commander, how come you can't catch this guy? And they said he's like a phantom. He's here 1 second, gone the next. And they don't buy that. This is a major movie studio with top. These guys, the guards, are usually military or police. So they're not pushovers. And that they couldn't catch me. So they hired a special guy. It took a little while, and he did catch me finally. And then they had my address. And that changed the whole playing field because, we could show a guard. There was a guard that ran out of the booth and goes, look what we got. He's yelling at me. I'm looking through that chain link fence. And I go, well, what do you got? And he goes, we got your address now. And I thought, oh, my God. They got it all there. They printed it all up. There's like 4 sheets of all these Culver City residents. You guys are going to kick out of this. You'll know the people. And so I'm looking at this. He's so proud of it. And then he gets involved with a car that's coming through the gate. And I said, I'm taking that. And just rode away on my bike. So I had that cut sheet faster than they could even get it into the guard checks. So I have it. It's out here today. And it means a lot to me. So it's got all your names. It's a funny trip to go down this road. And there's all your security. And look at what you're dealing with. These aren't pushover dudes. This is a real deal. And I was honored to outfox them all these years. This is the guard that actually was bragging how he had the list and blah, blah, blah. He's a veteran guard. He rarely ran the back lot because he couldn't catch anybody. They're older. But the guys they stuck in the back lot were heavily armed. They have assault rod guns, and they also have their own weapons. And that guy right there, Al Black, who I really like, I think he still may be alive. I'd love to talk to him. He was a tough one. He was hard to outrun. I got a scar from here to here where I was running. He was hiding in the train. We get in and we're walking. We always start with these trains. He was hiding in it. And so he jumped. It's nighttime, a whole different ballgame when you're sneaking around there at nighttime. And so there's a bounty on me. So he grabbed me. There's 2. He could have got the other guy, but he grabbed me, pulled me down as I'm jumping off the fence. So I pulled my hand on the fence, and there's my MGM tattoo. It's a long one. I had to go get stitches. And then, but he was cool because you could go talk to him the next day and say, you almost got me, almost. And so he'd joke. He goes, next time I'm going to get you. So it was a fun dialogue to have when they would just like go with it. Because there's always going to be another chance. So one of those brothers I told you they got kicked out of school, they did a lot of writing up on him. They turned him over to CCPD. Their stories didn't match. So those guys at St. Augustine's, I told you they got kicked out. There's a big write-up on him. And then I think my name's got cut off on this because I'm on the bottom.
You have to go in there to see it.
Yeah, no big deal. I have 2 cards. It took them 3 years to get me. The first time, the guy they hired did catch me. He saw me from Clover Boulevard. Nice one. Oh, so I made my own, So I made my own maps, by the way. I had no reference material. There was no Stephen Bingham books. There was no any books. This was my own stuff. I'd talk to employees, talk to guards, get old stories. And that map's just created off the top of my head. This is because I know the place. So that's me, and it's damn accurate. If you compare this to something else, you go, wow. So this was one of the first maps. So look at this, CCPD. Okay, they caught me there. That's a great story. because I'm walking up the plane. So that's an arch over there on Copperfield Court. And we're in there like 10 guys. And there's this long plank. It's like a pirate ship. And the goal was to walk from one end of the arch to the other. There's no rails, there's nothing. It's like a surfboard, you get to walk it. And one guy fell through. And his leg went right through that arch. And so we had to help him, pull him back up. And then when the hole cleared after he gets his leg out, there was a guard looking right up. Oh, shit. So we know we got to get out of there. And so we leave. We get off the lot. Like 10 guys were covered with dirt. This is filthy. And so he called the cops. He took off right away. That always signals they're going to go get reinforcements. So the cops come up a minute later. We're walking down. We jumped out over there, and then we made it down the street, and Culver City pulls up. Very nice. They're very nice about it. They go, so we just got a call. 10 guys just exited the MGM lot. Would you happen to be those guys? That was a joke, because where else are you going to see 10 guys covered with dirt? We didn't even lie. We just said, yeah. And they only did a scare card, which is just nothing. It means nothing to me. Yeah, so it's, yeah. And that's how that was a nice little thing. So there's my two. I got caught on that street corner, and I got caught. I gotta walk, I don't care. So right here, that X marks the spots. That's where George Barner caught me. I'll get a picture of him later. And he was off duty. It was so embarrassing because I was the prize he wanted. And so he embellished it. He walked me through the whole lot in cuffs. And I gotta walk by all these actors and shows, and I'm in cuffs. And he's so proud of himself, and I'm an idiot. And they take me in the watch commander, and they tell me how dangerous being on this lot is. And yeah, my dad had to come down and pick me up, blah, blah, blah. My parents kind of understood my passion. And as long as, my mom used to say the rosary all the time, and she used to say, Johnny, just be careful, just be careful. She almost was for my activities, but don't kill yourself. And there's a lot of ways to kill yourself in here. There really is a lot of hazards. So you can understand MGM's discretion. You don't want people running around in there for a million reasons. There's valuables, there's danger everywhere. Those are a couple of my friends. The Jimmy DeLuise's in most of my stories. He's my first. Yeah, well, yeah, get in line. And then that's Danny Hancock. Remember Danny Hancock?
Yeah, they graduated with that.
I know. So Danny passed away. It's really sad. Most of my friends have passed away from these tales. Jimmy, I think, is in Germany. I've lost track of him. I'd love to talk to him. I'd love to. He's got so many pictures of me because we took pictures together, and so his pictures would have me in them, and we're dying to get a hold of that. So that's my front yard. So this is cool. You've seen it a million times. I mean, basically, so Maureen's apartment would be right here. When she moved there like 1970, right across from this train station.
Now Hollywood Backstage brings a movie studio to you as we present a close-up of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. The gates of the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer studios are a passageway to the entire world, and you never leave its home in Culver City, California. What you're going to see now is just one section of this giant complex. This is the backlot, where the ingenious art directors and technicians have recreated in detail the faraway places of the past and present, and inventively designed the future. Open your eyes and dream of the romantic France of the Three Musketeers, photographed right here. And in this house, Greer Garson lived in the classic Mrs. Miniver. And a short pan of the camera, and we're in the awesome battle area where many of MGM's dramatic war films have been shot. The Big Parade, The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Battleground, and many television shows which are also photographed here. This backlot area is just a small part of 187 acres and 200 buildings, including 33 huge sound stages, where every conceivable type of movie can be shot. They also have their own river containing over 12 million gallons of water. Mutiny on the Bounty was done there. On this street and in this house, Mickey Rooney spent many years with his family. Remember Andy Hardy? The greatest stars of the movies worked here. Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy, Norma Shearer, Lana Turner, James Stewart, Elizabeth Taylor, and countless others. Through the trees and branches of this jungle swung Tarzan, a gateway to any place and any time at Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
That is a great video. I think you needed to see it. And then there's so much I can say about it, but I'd rather just say it my own way. Is this a picture I want to talk about, or are you just holding me?
This is Grand Central.
Okay, yeah. Which is where we get in. So Maureen's apartment, which is, just say where you're at, is right in that upper corner. So it looks straight into this thing. Like she said, we watched Young Frankenstein, we watched The Fortune, or two big shows that used this. Many shows, Planet of the Apes, how did I forget? Planet of the Apes. So that is those two warehouses in the bottom corner, they are indiscreet, but what I can tell you, they're party rooms. So that's where they kept all the cockpits that they had, the fuselages and cockpits. There's a time machine in there. There's from the Twilight Zone with the one where the Russell Johnson brings a cowboy off a gallows. It's this bitch. So it was all stored in that building, that corrugated steel building, and it was so fun to hang out in the cockpits, we'd party and we'd be flying the airplanes, and once you're in there, nobody's going to find you in there. If they do, you're not going to get out. So, but they're not going to go in. So we had our own little private hole because the doors were locked, they're sliding doors, but we had a little hole, we covered it, and that worked for years. And that's a cool picture because this is where we get in at. And so I got to get used to this. Okay, so there's a lot here. So that's a great picture, the black and white. So this pole, it's covered with barbed wire. And you can't climb this fence. That's where I got my 5 stitches. That's a razor top thing. You can't touch that. Don't touch it. So I had to teach people how to climb in. This is where a lot of stuff went down. And like Maureen had to do this. So Maureen, if we were going to go out together, you have to be able to climb this fence. And that was our thing. So at 13, I went over first because you use the barbed wire to climb. It's like a ladder. You just don't grab the barbs and you get above that fence and step down on the cross braces on the other side. You do not want to touch the top of the fence. I can't emphasize that enough. And so I had to not teach Maureen. I gave her a one time. This is how I do it. And can you do it? And so she does it. And she's wearing little cutoffs. You showed that little picture of her at the piano. Little Chinka. She was wearing no personal protection equipment. And she did the climb. So she gets to the top. Then she throws her hair back like a shampoo bottle. Farrah Fawcett would have been very proud of Maureen Miller. And then she comes down, and I was like flabbergasted. She did it because I know boys that couldn't do it. And I go, so Maureen, that was good, but next time you better do it a lot faster. I had to pop her bubble somehow because really you do have to do it. You don't want to sit there. But I was very impressed. And so that's where we get in at. That is a different spot. That's New York Street. That's Jimmy. And we had our own gates for a while. We made our own shit. We had to figure out a way to get in and get out. And sometimes we can get stuff out that way, bigger stuff, rather than lift it over the fence. So we got away with that hole for a while. By the way, what you do is you have a bent nail, and so you twist it, and then you can pull the fence open, and then you bend the nail back, whatever. So it actually worked for a long time before security saw, hey, that fence is getting a little worn out. What's going on here? So this is an old picture of the train station. Before, it got rebuilt to a full station. That's not a full station there. That's a front. And then they redid the lot, I don't know what year, to really have depth and to put roofs on it, 4 walls. Because without 4 walls and a roof, these old wood places fall apart real quickly. Everybody cries that Andy Griffith's houses and everything, they would have fallen down. This stuff doesn't last forever. And those houses at Desilu were not full houses. It's a whole different story. I can't go into it. We don't have the time for Desilu tonight, but I will do that story for you because it's a whole different thing. than MGM. MGM's a planned event. Everything that was done there was factored in for longevity and storage and everything. This was, and I've been on every lot, this is the grandest lot of all. It really is. So there's Fred, who I've met on That's Entertainment. And the last thing ever shot at this train station was that Bee Gees Staying Alive video, which was before MTV. It's 1977. I was there for this. And MTV wasn't on the air yet. So where did they show these videos is what totally confuses me. And it's a big video. You've seen it. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's a fantastic video. They were making Sergeant Pepper, and they pulled them over to do a splinter. They call it a splinter unit thing, and made this video. They didn't pre-rig anything. There was no lighting, no nothing. Just get the band and they brought some boom boxes over so they play the sound, and they just walk around staring. And it was really. We're going to talk a little more Sergeant Pepper as we go here. This is something Mike found, because it's just a train I played in all the time, got the picture, didn't even know. It's How the West Was Won. That's the same thing right there. And I didn't know. I just was having fun. And but it's nice to get the history. And I still get history now. This is why this place isn't dead. Because like I can find some old rerun that I hadn't seen, and then here's the lot that I've never seen it. And it's like it's still here. I can't emphasize how that's a turn on for me. It's like, wow, it's still here. I mean, in that way, because this is all I do. Nobody wants to date me. Nobody wants to. I'm a sad story. I love this place. Yeah, that's what I do. And so, this is funny. Right across the street from Marine's Place. This is these two guards here, the black and white pictures are around 1976. So 1975, MGM handed it off to private security. It was supposed to be developed into studio estates, and that was going to be the end of it. But then two big shows came in and kept the lot up a year each. King Kong, 1976, paid the developers $1 million to keep the lot up for a year. This probably, if I get it right, is $2 million to buy the back lot. They get $1 million back for this, and they get $1 million back. Sergeant Pepper did it the following year, saying we want the whole lot. So the developer got this land really cheap because he got reimbursed $2 million for 2 shows. And so the Sergeant Pepper, by the way, that Staying Alive video was the last thing they ever did at the train station. I think there was something I was going to show. Oh, go back one. Yeah, the sleeping guard. There's actually 2 sleeping guards here, years apart. That guy's asleep, and that guy's asleep. And so, and there's the tower, Arvet's tower, and Marine's apartment's right across the way. So they started hanging out at this hole in the fence. I started to show you earlier, these portholes, because, yeah, right there. That's a fence. So that's a fence that, across from where Marine's apartment is, they had a gate. Somebody crashed through the gate. That's the gate. So they didn't replace it. They just stuck a side of a ship, the side of a ship. So we called it portholes. They didn't put the gate back. They just grabbed a set and stuck it up there. So we always joke about portholes. It's going to be a Marine, yeah, right there. So that's what I was trying to, so we'd lift a foot up and peek through that hole. In fact, I took that picture of the guard sleeping through the porthole. Just somebody was lifting me up, take a picture. And so I'm having fun. All right, so the train station was significant. And so I can't emphasize enough how a lot of this looks so easy, and you think, wow, you just had such a fun ride. It's scary when you're in there. They want you. They're not going to let you get out of there easy. You get chased, you're going to have the police on the other side of the fence. You got to get home as fast as you can. And what we do when we climbed in that fence, because after they fixed the hole in the fence, you don't have to keep up with this, we had to find a new way in because we were already hooked. We're going in this place. We'll just make our own way. And we learned how to climb that pole. That puts us in this part of the lot every time. So we start out by going in a train. There was probably about 14 trains there, many of them Pullmans, boxcars, all kinds of, we had a good selection. And so, so we go in the train and we just wait because we want to see if somebody saw somebody, and we're so close enough to the fence we can actually. So we play a game, calculated probabilities. And then the next move is to get to the church tower. Generally, this is what we do all the time, because if you get to the church tower, you can see this whole lot. And then we know where the guards are, what's going on. So we wanted to get, plus we also drove around the lot on our bicycles right before we'd go in to look through everything just to see where things are happening. And either avoid them or try to come in a different place and come through the back way. It's always about coming through the back way. So that steeple was our thing. And we get up there. I've got a million pictures from up there. And that was our, there you go. So these are highlights from the Phantom of Hollywood. So these are just some angles. These are my pictures. This is kind of everything. Everything starts here, and we end up there. So we've got, these are the pictures from the steeple. No one else has them. No one else could get up there. It's quite a climb. It was another thing. Now, a guard's not going to make the climb, but he doesn't have to. He's just going to call the police and say they're up there. So the guard's not going to make too many risks. I'm hanging out the steeple right here, so you guys know. I'm hanging out with one hand taking a picture, and I could have easily fallen and been seen. And by the way, all these cars are, Bill Murphy Buick used to use a lot to park all their extra cars for a while. So all those cars, that's not a production or anything, it's just a parking lot. So you too might have bought a car from the back lot here at MGM Studio. And this is a great shot from the second story window of the steeple. Years apart, because what you have, that sign says Autobahn 2.K5, that's a explosion. All these floorboards had gun shells all over them, shell casings from combat, helmets and stuff. It's like they just went into retreat right when I walked into town. It's like it's that good. Years later, here's the King Kong walls that replaced that building, which burned down, which I had a fort in. We're going to go in that later. I also had a fort right up there. I have forts. I build forts. That's what I do. And this is the Kong Walls Shea Stadium, which we've talked about. The 50th anniversary of Kong's coming up here this summer. And many of you might have been there. You had the option because they wanted background for extra background for Kong, for the big robot out, which they only used on our back lot. It was, everything else was a miniature with Rick Baker. So that's just a great shot over time to show you how things got changed. Like they patched all the holes when Young Frankenstein came in '74. So they made the street really nice briefly. And then it went back to a couple war things. So they just devastated it again. But we actually saw it really decorated nice for Young Frankenstein, which is fantastic. So that's from my fort in that street, which we call German Village. We didn't have maps. We called this stuff based off what we saw on TV. So it's the Bewitching Pool. We use that to describe Esther Williams Pool, which is that right there where the arrow is. It's in the back corner. So when I got in, my hole in the fence where the tree fell was right around here. And when you come in through the hole, you're in a cemetery, which is ironic because we're scared to death. So we're crawling around the gravestones just looking for signs to leave. And we were scared to death, but we didn't see anybody. We decided on the first day to stay along the fence line. We got all the way to the pool, and we couldn't believe it because we just watched the Twilight Zone, the Bewitching Pool, and here it is. And it's just weird to, here it is. And nobody, I mean, I've watched the show many times, and here it is. So it really is a thing to your heart. And that's every corner you take. It's like when the first time you go in there, you're fulfilling your imagination of these shows you saw, and here they are. This is the sets. It's really powerful. This is from the steeple, and we're looking towards the beach. There's Romeo and Juliet balconies. Had wonderful times up there. Seriously, me and Maureen did a really wonderful Valentine's Day Romeo Juliet thing. It was kind of cute. And here you go with the arch. I've got a lot of art department pictures, and that's a good story. So I got them from the MGM art department. And the guy is so cool. So he's from Boytown, Nebraska. When MGM made Boytown in 1938, they went on location. They brought back a kid at the time. He was a kid. His name was Tony Valoni. They gave him a job at MGM, and he ended up running the art department. And so my dad met him somewhere, and he goes, hey, Johnny, I got something for you. You're going to go meet this guy. And when I got there to the art department, he handed me these envelopes. He goes, take whatever you want. And there was too many things in here. This whole room was just drawers of MGM art. I couldn't carry enough out. I didn't want to ever leave. I couldn't believe this job. And so I tell him, because I hear his story, and he's from Boytown, and he's got a great story. But we have a fort that we call Boytown. So I said to him, you want to come over to my fort? I have a fort called Boytown. So this guy from Boytown, the real deal, is talking to me, and I said, I have a fort that's Boytown. It's technically Girls Town in MGM shows, but we didn't want to be called girls. So we called it Boys Town. And so it's famous as a girls' reform school. You'll see more of it. But we called it Boys Town. And so there's Vic with that arch. That arch, legendary. It's where Frankenstein got shot with a needle, put out as Terry Garr was crawling all over him, and they were wrestling him to the ground right under that arch. Just more. So that's a clean shot of them patching everything on. So they just filmed Young Frankenstein. The weeds are starting to grow again, but they just filmed it, and so all the sign work is that show. You can match it up. They patched all the bullet holes, which is quite a project. And so what we did, this is crazy. So you saw how I love playing combat in the backyard with the soldiers. Now we can start coming in here, and I'm going to play combat here. So what we did, we had BB gun fights. We're teenagers now. And we'd go in there with BB guns. We had a pistol and a rifle. The rifles are from across the street. You can shoot. If you're point blank, you got to use a pistol. It's a little rule we had. And we had battles here. And then I had Marines. I had a lot of friends that were older than me. They joined the Marine Corps. And then they would want to come down after they get off at night. So they'd get here about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And they wanted to go on these lots. They wanted to see Gomer Pyle at Desilu. By the way, while I'm doing all this, I'm going to Desilu too. I just can't fit it all in here tonight. So we're double dipping. And when I got a driver's license, we got to the valley. We did everything. So here we're having BB gun fights. These are at night with real Marines. And it was crazy stuff. So I've evolved from a little kid in the backyard with plastic soldiers to where I'm shooting Marines and they're shooting me. I got hit more than I hit. And it's at night. It's scary stuff, right? And those guys are crazy, by the way. They didn't even shoot at the guard just because they weren't afraid of much. They weren't afraid of anything, even though they can't get arrested. And they weren't going to get arrested because you can't. You're going to end up in big trouble. So they weren't afraid of anything. And I always laugh because you don't want to mess with this group that I got. I'm bringing in the heavyweights, the real stuff. And so we had a lot of fun blasting this street up. And so there's right after Sergeant Pepper. They blew the hole in the church. We'll go into this subject because this is the past tense. Go to where the guys are in the church loading their weapons and everything. That should be coming up. It's this town. So the guys, well, do whatever. There you are. Okay, so this is Sergeant Pepper, 1977. And so when I get to this lot, by the way, my friend Tim Gray, who I love, who passed away, is also in a Screen Actors Guild. He's in the Sergeant Pepper band here that's marching by, so that's kind of a trip. I have a friend in the band. And when I got home, I think it was a school day for me, I heard the gunfire, and I had to get over there with my camera, big old bulky camera. There's a picture of me peeking in here. That's a very common thing, peeking around a corner. That's at the train station, and I'm looking my way. I don't know who took that, Jimmy, I guess. And so my goal that day is to get up in the church, to sneak in and get this battle. I was dying to get great photographs of battling. And so I've seen this one. Do we got something else? Show me the guy loading. Okay, give me time here. Okay, there's a lot here. First of all, this is a special effects guy. He's loading a squib gun. What's a squib gun? Well, I took this home. I actually got that, took it home and realized I can't use it and brought it back. That sounds terrible, but I really, and everybody, when I walked down the street, I had props. I had weapons. I had spears. I had boxes. I had clothing. I had helmets. Other kids came home with school books. And I look strange because I'm living this life, this parallel life. So this guy is loading a gun that requires, it's a squib gun, requires air compression to fire it. And that I didn't have, so I could not use this gun. And all my friends said, why are you bringing it back? I go, because they need it, and I can't use this. And so I don't want them to get pissed off, because I'm going to be on the set a million times. So I actually snuck back in with it and put it back. And I broke it down really good. So he's loading it. What you have is blasting putty that you put in a little caps, like pill capsules, and then you shoot it, and it'll hit the wall and make the powder like you hit something. So that's a squib gun. And what we're doing here is this, that's the band going through, blah, 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 war battle going on. But what's so neat here is you have, when I walked up on the church, my goal was to sneak to the tower, okay, and get up to the top and get some good pictures. And as I sneak up behind the church, this guy's loading a gun. And that guy's shooting a gun. There's a war going on. And here you go. They're going upstairs. Right there, you can see a guy loading a 50 caliber machine gun. These Germans are going upstairs. And what's so weird is, I was going to go upstairs to get in the church, and they ended up blowing the top off. So I'm glad I didn't make it. But these guys didn't see me, and if I was playing war, I caught 3 Germans right here in the doorway. I was basically in their movie at this point. I'm point blank. I'm right where I could get hurt. Shows hate that. Because there's safety meetings, there's a lot of protocols you have to do. The last thing they want you is kids running around inside these buildings, especially ones rigged to blow. So, seriously. So that's a great shot too. So these guys never even saw me. And I'm scoping them out. I get their pictures. Like if that was a real gun, I would have blown away 3 Germans. And so this is the town of Fluted Coop. And it's the opening credits of Sergeant Pepper. They start there. And that little tank is a trip because it returned, World War I. It returned the next year for a show called Steve reels back, The Stuntman. And so that little tank did so much terror on that film, which is an absolutely great film, The Stuntman. I recommend it to all people. Peter O'Toole's the director. Steve Railback's the star. It's kind of a wild tale. It's a very wild tale. And a lot of it was done here at the MGM backlot. It's actually the last show to film on that street. Here's that street again with Lassie going up. And another art department picture, but there's Lassie wandering the same. You can follow the pattern. And this is from my art department catalog. That's the 3 Musketeers. All these building numbers are actual numbers, so they can quickly identify for property or whatever else they got to do, that we want to facelift this, we want to change this, blah, blah, blah. So this is after a windy day. Windy days are so fun on the back lot. I can't tell you enough about windy days because the doors would slam shut. It was just like you didn't know if you're being chased. You didn't know what. It just was haunted and beautiful. So we love windy days. We always went in there. There's Maureen and me in high school. I had long hair. So when I left St. Augustine's, I couldn't wait to grow my hair long because they had a big, I let it all hang out, literally. I begged my mom not to send me to St. Bernard's. I wanted to be with Maureen. She went to Culver, and we had a lot of fun. In fact, I found out at Culver, I was 2 years ahead of them. St. Augustine's really taught you well. So I actually found out I could ditch school a lot, write my own notes. And because you're wondering how do I get on these sets, I just ditched school. So this is a funny one. I did school, wrote my own notes. I got caught for that. I'll tell you that later because they failed me. That's another story in itself. So this is funny. This is how the Phantom of the Backlot, which the Phantom of Hollywood is what it's called. It was, when it was produced, it's loosely based off me. This is why we say Phantom of the Backlot, because this was called the Phantom of Lot 2. They changed it at the press release to Phantom of Hollywood, because they didn't like Lot 2. They didn't think the public would understand it. It was a movie of the week. If anybody remembers those, they're an hour and a half, and they were made strictly for TV. And so this kid looks a lot like me. Okay, and that looks like another kid, Gerald, that'll come up in this. And so they're getting in kind of where we get in at. This is what's so weird. So they link where we get in at. Then they end up dying from a Ford I have, and you tell me, this is a show that's loosely got me tied to it. Phantom of Hollywood, they called me the Phantom before they made the show. He dies at my Ford, he gets in where I get in at. I see similarities. So there's that guy. So I met Jack on this show. It was the coolest thing in the world. He's the Phantom, and he waving to me, and I'm the Phantom to be. And so it was, I'm already the Phantom. Really, they're making that about Me. Well, there's Gene on a balcony, the wonderful balconies that existed back on that. The last thing to film back there was Fantasy Island. And it was the pilot episode. We didn't even know what we were looking at because it's not been on the air yet. So I'm meeting Hervé Vachese, and I think the guy's nuts. I'm thinking, what is this guy? I can't even understand him. And then I'm sitting next to Robert Clary, who I did not know because he was going to be one of the prisoners in this episode with Bert Comby. And then it's all in this area. Then Ricardo Montalban shows up on set. And we had been there all night. I'd been there all night because Earth, Wind & Fire played the whole night on Sgt. Pepper. So as Sgt. Pepper wraps out after all night, here comes this big show. And they actually had a traffic jam. There was two major shows, one trying to leave, one coming in. And they didn't know what to do. So I actually led them the way to this street, and everybody was digging me because they go, what's going on in here last night? So they were all talking to me, and I'm talking to them, and it was a long night. It was like 36 hours straight on the lot. In fact, I got some breakfast burritos, ran home to my parents who were still asleep, put it on the counter, said I'm all right, and went back to over there and stayed the whole day. And I got to sit with Robert Clary, who I did not know was a real prisoner of war. So I would have loved to talk to him about it. And then Gene Levitt directed. The reason I bring his name up, because he did Combat. He was Combat's director. Then he did The Phantom of the Backlot. And then he did this last thing in that area, which was Fantasy Island. And I got to sit there in a special built little room right in there. And so they wanted all the action of the people in the background, the prisoners and all this stuff. It was like Devil's Island. And Bert Comby had his ultimate fantasy was an escape artist, and he wanted to escape from the most difficult compound ever. So where I get to watch this, point blank, with just me, the director, the cameraman, Bert Comby, and Ricardo Montalban. And so they just let me be right there. And I'm tripping out on it. First of all, Bert Comby used to watch him on Tattletales or something. So I go, I didn't even know he was an actor. So I'm tripping out on him. And he's tied to a bed with a ball and chain. And then you got these prison bars, and then Ricardo Montalban comes up, who I had talked to earlier. I'll tell you that story. And so Bert Comby goes, well, you beat me, Mr. Rourke. This was tough. I thought I had you beat, but I can't get out of here. Good job. And he goes, so I quit. And then Ricardo's just silent. He goes, you can't quit. You signed up for the ultimate escape. And there's no quitting. If you can't escape, you'll be here the rest of your life. And then like Ipsy Lefan, which is LeBeau. And so it was a powerful moment in the show, which I don't even know what the show was until I was on the air like 3 weeks later. And so, yes, Bert does escape because he has no choice. And he gets out on the bottom of a truck that gets shot up by machine guns. They think there's no way anybody would escape on that, but he's underneath on the axle. So he gets out. But when Ricardo Montalban showed up on this set, it was cute because he pulled up this is 1977. He pulled up in a Chrysler Cordoba, just like you saw in the commercial. So they gave him that car. But my mom had one of those cars. And so I'm tripping out. I was there all night, and now he pulls up. And he's a legend, an icon. I just love all the MGM old Steeple guys. So he pulls up. He's already in costume. And all the dust has to settle because he's pulling up in the dirt where the cemetery used to be. So I wait for the cloud to go by. He steps out in his white suit, and I run up, and I go, hey, Ricardo, I just got to tell you, not only are you a great actor, you're a great salesman, because my mom bought that car because of you. And he loved it. I was just shooting free. I don't care. And so I got to meet another legend of MGM, which I can't get enough of the MGM legends because they're well behaved. They went to a finishing school. They're superior. I've worked in the business forever. The old MGM stable of stars was well groomed and beautiful. I met probably 6 of them, and I can't say enough because it ain't like that. So this is my old fort before it got. This is way old because you're going to see Peter Lawford has a lot of history at this building. I want to talk about that, Mike. Hold on. Go back a frame. Yeah, let's talk about this. So the that chimney, I got quite a story. I don't know if I can even tell it. It took 6 hours that night just to be in it. It was it involved every security guard at MGM. They hadn't caught me yet, so I was I was public enemy number one. They called in every cop in the world. This was an all-night event. They caught one of my friends, Danny, because he thought he could get down. We saw the cops are coming, and we had to decide, can we get down and run fast enough or not? And we voted not, me and Jimmy. So we went and hid in that chimney, which isn't easy to do. And we got away with 6 hours. They searched this place high and low. And we were peeking a little hole, and the guard was sitting there. He knows we're up there, and he can't figure out where. We searched everything. And in the meantime, Danny got caught. He was going to try to run away, and the police pull up. They get him down. He gives our name to the police, so they got on a speakerphone telling us to get down. Danny's face down in the dirt now, and then they haul him away, which is funny because this took like 6 hours. And so when we go home, we stop by Danny's house because we wanted to say thanks for giving the names, because he lived right next door to me. Jimmy's right up the street. We're all right there. And he goes, you guys are still there? Yeah, this thing just ended. He had already been arrested, booked, released, and I'm still in a chimney. I love this stuff. So I like my own spins on this stuff. Everybody can talk about this and that. I'm just talking about real stuff, real stories that happened in there, real guards, real people that have a history there. And plus, I always wanted to be a guard, by the way. I thought it was the coolest job in the world. I wanted to be an MGM guard. But they didn't even maintain ownership the whole time. It switched into something else entirely. So there is your girls' town. We called it Boys' Town. Mamie Van Dorn. Maureen helped me build a fort up there. You're going to see that in a couple minutes. High School Confidential used it. What is that? Jerry Lee Lewis singing around there. Elvis Presley's been there. Good News, Peter Lawford, this is Musicalville. And there's Peter on his last visit, which would be as CEO of Worldwide Studios, as 2 boys fell to their death from my fort. How mysterious is that they'd even use it? So my fort, hold on a second, Mike, is up in this, and it's in this roof. And to get to it, you have to climb over so much stuff, you're not gonna do it. So they built another front over. That is another front built over the original front. So it makes it a maze of stuff that you have to diagnose if you're going to try to get us. And so, is this a film clip? Yeah.
I can skip through those because I think we're behind time.
Oh, are we? Somebody warned me because we got a long ways. Okay, this is quick, and there it is. It just drives home a point. This is for Phantom of Hollywood. I like how they blend it in, so they do our little history lesson for us. Flash, flash, flash. So this building would be used. Yeah, there's those cars again. This building would be used again the last time for Logan's Run, and they had a cemetery out there. Oh, you're my fort now. So no, that's okay. Just stick there for a second. I'll go in the fort. So they used. Do you have any Logan's Run? Do you have the Abe Lincoln? Okay.
5 slides there.
Okay. Well, I'll take you up in the fort if you want. Let's go to that. Yeah. Okay. So I had a fort. I showed you the room. This is my fort, and I'm proud of it. And Maureen helped me build it. So she helped decorate it, and it was a lot of stuff. She did. So that whole we made ourselves so we could see where the guards, because we wanted a full visibility. These guys, you think I'm nuts, but I knew they'd eventually find the fort, and so I wanted to leave them a postcard. Jolly's their captain, their lieutenant, and the Three Stooges, George Bowanello, are the 3 guards that would chase us all the time. So we knew they'd find it eventually, and we wanted to say, oh, you missed this. And now this one's really a great shot. So look at this. Right here, this sign, this is appropriate for a school. It says, you're tardy if you're not in your seat when the bell rings. So we had that. Then we had our little mop and this table we took in from over at Maple Street, we called it. Chairs, couch, we had stuff. Yeah, the water cooler's really nice. We took it from a laborer. 2 Orange Crush bottles, a Mickey's Big Mouth, a jacket from the helmet room, and that's a cartridge, blank ammo. They have it's a clip of 12 rounds, and they had a wall of nothing but blank ammo, which is live ammo. It just doesn't shoot a projectile. So we played so much with that. I was so popular. We do so much stuff with that gunpowder, and it was free for those. It was free for. So that table's got a lot of history on it. It's probably nondescript to most people, but that's combat. Okay, so. That's my fort, June 1973. That's Pat Rich. We had just got asked to leave St. Augustine's. All those kids were too Trespassing, we were just not what they wanted anymore. So I had to leave after 7th grade and went on to Culver, where I got kicked out of there too. So, hey, I did all right for all this. And here we go. So this is another view of our fort, and that's why we love our forts. Because look at these views. This is just look at where you can see everything. There's our German village. That's Small Town Square, Baldwin Hills back there. Go ahead. And I was so scared because the guards here, you can only see the roof is, I was so afraid to look over like he's going to see me, but I was afraid. You're afraid in this place. Don't kid yourself, you're not. Because the farther you get in, our fort was a particular problem because you had to cross open roads, and there's ways you could be seen. And once you're there, getting out, if you're in the middle of the lot, you're going to have a long ways to run if you're getting chased. You're not going to make it. You're probably going to have to hide in a building. And the building things don't really work because they're just going to get reinforcements. So you really got to be clever about this. This is part of the difficulties of getting into my fort. You had to maneuver around all this stuff, which was very difficult. There's the chimney. There's the old roof. They built the front on it. And so that's it was on the other side. There's two chimneys. It's a little difficult to get up there. Like I had to lift Jamie up. He had to reach down, pull me up, and then we're lost. We're on this ledge, and nobody bothered to look up. That's how they would have caught us. They never did. You couldn't get a dog up there because you couldn't climb a ladder. So you had this beat, and we just had to outlast all the posse looking for us. So that's the difficulties of that place. So this is a funny picture because they went up to my fort. My fort was already existing. They had to go through my fort to break this ledge because in the show, the Phantom of Hollywood, the kids die. They fall from there. So once again, it's linking to me, my fort, two chuck marks of dead teenagers, and there's my man, the Highway Patrol, Broderick Crawford. So he's in that show. He came back a year later as J. Edgar Hoover. So we saw a lot of Broderick Crawford. Well, I love that guy. And so he's going over the dangers of this lot and the bad publicity, blah, blah, blah. This is the stairway they built for Logan's Run. This is probably the last picture of Boytown because what happened next is this set burned down. It was arson. It was somebody in Culver City. I'm not going to call him out. I know who he is. And he did three buildings. Oh, it's the saddest thing in Hollywood. I don't even want to give him credit. But this is like one of the last buildings you'll see. It burned down right after they got done with this shoot. And then that was it. MGM washed its hands of this place. That's my fort. So that's it from the backside. This overhang is my fort. This would end up being a set right down here for Young Frankenstein. They built a graveyard. It's where they pulled up the body. And Gene goes, why am I doing this? And then Marty goes, could be worse. It could be raining. And then they did a rain deluge. And it was all right there underneath my fort, which I was up in when they were doing that. And when Young Frankenstein's a trip because it's a black and white show and we're seeing it all in color. And so we lived the color version, and it's black and white. It's beautiful. Go ahead, Michael. And here's it burned down. And all that's left is the brick stairs. You can see the steeple. And so it's the saddest thing in the world. And I was asleep for it. It was like 4 a.m. fire, and then I could smell when I woke up. You could smell wood burning everywhere, or the smell of ash. And I didn't know what I was going to see, and lo and behold, they burned down. It's like a 4 a.m. fire, so I didn't see it. It had to be the biggest fire you've ever seen. It was a huge building. So what it looked like, though, after you go in there, like a 747 crashed. So you got huge smoldering wreckage. And it was a sad thing. So MGM passes this place off. They get a private security in there. This place is going to get torn down. But hold on, because King Kong, Paramount, wants to build these walls. And they needed so much stuff. They needed more stages. They needed this big of a set. This is a huge set. It just wraps around, goes everywhere. This is so beautiful. In fact, wait, go back. Where are we going here? You're going way too fast for me. I was in that torso. When they brought that in, they brought in the legs first, then they brought in the upper torso, then they brought in the head. So this was a big convoy of stuff. So I got in there. When that got dropped off, we were up in Andy Hardy's house. We watched it come in. We couldn't believe what we were watching. This was like a military operation. You had all kinds of escorts. The thing was wrapped. All you saw was his feet sticking out. So they stick it there. They go back to get the next piece, the upper torso and the head. So we run over there and we go inside it. Me and Jimmy, we just come through the lake. We run inside. We jeopardized everything. Go in this monkey. And it was really fascinating because it's a bunch of hydraulic tubing, which is like, so what happened is, Dino De Laurentiis wanted Boeing to build this thing because it's basically a airplane dynamics. It's all hydraulic. Everything moves hydraulically, which is an airplane. And Boeing said, we can't do it in a year. It'll probably take us 2. And they needed it in a year. They already had everything planned. So they got Carlos Rambaldi over in Italy to do this thing. And it took months to build this thing on the main lot at MGM. You could watch it. You could see it over the fence. It's a really great story. So, but when I was inside the hydraulic part, we're in Kong. I got all the way to his feet. It's huge. It's like walking through a fuselage. And then to leave, I grabbed a bunch of horsehair. It's Argentine horsehair. So I'm pulling it out and sticking it in, going home, and showing all my friends I'm going down the street. Look what I got. Look at Kong. Because everybody knows these shows are going on, but they don't want to go in. They're afraid. So I have to update them. They all, when I walk down the street, they all want to know what's going on. And I had all kinds of Kong hair. So I'm handing it out, and then I put it all on my dog, and he looked like a half monkey, half little Irish. It was cute. So here it is on the lot. Some assembly required. I mean, you look at all the stuff you got to do. You had to piece it all together. Look at all that stuff. When Kong was there was probably 10 hands on the back lot. Because you can get by a lot of scenes that Kong wasn't ready yet. You just needed a hand, all right? So, yeah, and then we'll do the rest of this shit. You needed a hand. There were so many hands. In fact, my neighbor had a hand next door. There's a long story. It's funny stuff. Many hands. But they were foam. This hand actually works with hydraulics. It takes 9 operators to do all the mannerisms, arm movements, eye blinks, fingers. So there's like 9 guys. It's a big thing. So on the nights where they invited the people in, that's what's going on here, the big Shea Stadium. They just pulled off the Petrox gas pump here. And I took this picture of Jessica and Charles. I got right as close as you can get. It's a really great shot. So I'm shooting black and white in these days because color's a lot of money. And my little hobby was expensive. And so what I had to do, I started shooting black and white and go develop it at Culver High School. And I forget the teacher's name, Mr. Leatherman or Mr. Woodward, I forget. But anyways, I'm developing that picture and it's coming out of the emotions. I'm going, oh yeah. And then I didn't realize he was standing on my shoulder. He goes, where are you getting these pictures? And I said, with a camera, sir. I don't need to talk anymore about this. And so there's our old mansion, which during Kong, Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange, and their little property truck, historic, we're all parked in front of this. So you could see Jeff out there playing a guitar, strumming, Jessica out with her dog. That was their main compound for the big stars. This is just some old stuff, giving you mansion history.
Mickey Rooney.
There you go.
Doorbell.
Oh yeah, because you're going there because I'm ringing a doorbell. Yeah, that's me there at the door. Mike likes that picture, and why not? So it's there, I'm on the lot. That was a fun building. It wasn't, there it is again. And there's the famous Bewitching pool with the mansion right there. These were my pictures. Go ahead. And then this is a tear down. Very sad, very, very sad. And that was 1978 when that section, it came down in sections, meaning phases. Hey, there's the star of the pool, which I didn't give her credit because I said Bewitching pool. And Elvis Presley's been in there. There's actually a house right behind the pool, and we called it the caretaker's house. And it was a real house. It's right behind these things. So if you're in the upper bedroom, you look down on this pool and the whole park. So this guy disappeared, this caretaker. So in the 60s, just hold it here for a minute. In the 60s, before I snuck in, I'd still go to school and I'd walk the fence line. So I was preparatory. for what I'm gonna be doing. So I was getting to know the lot. I got to know the guy that lived at that house, an old guy with the overalls all the time, a family dog, blah, blah, blah. My dog would walk along the fence, his dog would follow. Anyways, I kept an eye on that place, and I realized he moved. So then I thought, I wonder what it's like. So we snuck in, the door was locked, but we got to a window, we got inside, and this place was fully usable. It had all the utilities, carpeting. Maureen and I took it over. So we had a 2-bedroom, really nice place for a couple of years, and we kept it really nice. So it was nicer than even our homes. We were really proud of it. And then we actually got chased out of there when Kong Security came in, and then they realized that we hung out there, so they boarded it all up. Kong Security was crazy. They had heathen motorcycle gang they hired. So I wanted the MGM guards back because these guys were scary, bandanas and beards and riding around on Harleys with their, and you're thinking, holy shit, what am I getting myself into? And I've been chased by them, and they're scary. They didn't use weapons. They might have had them. They just were intimidating. And they used to have their base camp where the security was in the back by the pool. They trashed that pool. It was full of cigarette butts and trash. These guys were not your first-class security outfit, but they worked, if you want to say that, because I worked around them. I've been chased by them. So this is our bridge. That church burned down. This is probably 1974. That's my friend Jimmy overlooking it. I'm telling you, that bridge, because I've seen a lot of war movies where they drive over that, I can't believe a truck could not fall through. It was so rotted out that I can't believe you could even put an Army truck on top of that, let alone a convoy. I've seen a whole convoy go over that on combat. So I love that bridge. It got changed for Kong, because they didn't want that bridge. So they just put it into a rock formation, and there it is. That's how it went out, because they actually had the little altar for Dwan, where she gets sacrificed up to the monkey, and it was right just this side, so they didn't want this bridge. Great stuff here. Just I had my own picture that I've lost so many great pictures. I had to use my pictures for maps and everything. I handed them around to kids. I said, this is where we're going to go. So my pictures have been everywhere. I mean, that's why they're so dilapidated and fingerprints. This is the MGM Art Department, really cool dollies and stuff here. Self-sufficient. Here's a clip. So this is from the Phantom of, so this is just a lot of the small town square before, all the way back to Laurel and Hardy, that's just priceless to me. I love Laurel and Hardy. So these are just the old clips versus the new, my more colorful modern pictures. I had that banner. It was from a Hawkins TV series. So MGM made a few TV series in the 70s that didn't work. One of them was Adam's Ribs, Shaft, which was fun, with Richard Roundtree, and then Hawkins. So this said something Bowlville. That was the town of Bowlville. Ended up taking that home, put it on my fence. It's actually huge. You don't think it's this big when you're on the lot. You get it home, and that takes up half the yard. So it was, so I did that. And then there's the hut set. I couldn't go over there because there was a guard sitting on it. That's the cemetery for Young Frankenstein. So that's the gate they come through. There's a couple tombstones. And the whole thing was just behind that. And so fun. So that cemetery moved all over the place. When I first got in, it was where I was first climbing. But then it moved over to New York Street for Soylent Green. They had a big shootout there. Chuck Connors, Charlton Heston through the tombstones. Then it moved over to the lake for Phantom of the Backlots. I know you're getting pissed at my time, but I'm just telling you the cemetery. It moved all over the place. It was a traveling cemetery. And it ended up Young Frankenstein. Then it ended up, God knows where, everywhere. So I got to work with time here. So this is an interesting thing. Sergeant Pepper. So they split the Andy Hardy house 4 ways. So they used it to cover angles so you don't see that this is a back lot. So everything, because they're going to have 360-degree camera angles, that you have to block every street. You have to block everything. So they took that house and folded it into 4 ways. So it blocked images. And there's, okay, so we're going to be on the set of Sergeant Pepper right now. There's Robin Gibb riding around. And I'll keep rolling here. This is a funny story, though. I got to say it. So I come home from school, and I'm flipping through the channels for alternatives to do homework. I didn't want to do homework, so I'm looking through all the regular TV shows. And then I see Mike Douglas, who I didn't watch, but I did a double take, and I thought, he's on the lot. Wait, what's he doing? They were broadcasting live from the back lot, and I couldn't believe it. It's Mike Douglas. And this is what they're doing. They're having this interview. So I call my mom, and I go, Mom, you always ask where I'm at. That's the set. I'm going to go over there right now. So I told my mom, watch this. I'm going to come through that doorway in 5 minutes. So go ahead. And this, go to those buildings. So, sorry, I get excited because this was great. So I sneak around. I'm there. I'm watching now through that window. Peter's back is to me. I'm looking right at Mike Douglas. I'm going to come out that door, but I want to listen to Peter. So he's talking, and he's talking about getting shocked, the blue flash, where if you touch the microphone, you got to touch it like that, you can get really belted. So he's telling Mike Douglas that when I walk up, and I'm listening to it, and I'm thinking, how cool is that? That's a very good job, Peter. And I'm thinking, I might as well be just a national talk show host, teenage talk show host. Here I am on the set, and I'm getting good stuff from Peter Frampton. And so on that cue, because they're going to go to commercial, I walk out the door, do the wave, run all the way back home, and she saw me. And so we've tried to dig up that clip, and God knows if you find it, I want it. So that's the best we can do. It was, so I didn't even like Mike Douglas, but I liked him that day. So here's our Heartland, USA. So keep rolling. I can tell you a story here, but I'm going to save it. I'll go with this one. So when I took this picture, Billy Preston's coming up, isn't he? Yeah. Okay, so go back to the picture, because we'll point this out. So when I took this picture, the real picture was 2 seconds later. So I'm in a building, Billy Preston's doing a song on the other side, Get Back, and he's being hoisted by a crane. They're just walking around having fun. So my camera, Minolta SRT 102, had a really loud shutter. And so when I took this picture, they all turned around and started looking for the paparazzi. And I'm scared to death now, because you're not supposed to have cameras on these sets. And here's Peter Frampton looking around, and I'm hiding, and on the other side, Billy Preston. So they didn't look hard. They just heard a camera. And so I would love to have the next picture, but I couldn't dare take it when they're looking at me. There's Peter there. There's Barry Gibb. And you're going to see Billy Preston right here. He's in a harness on a crane, and he's singing Get Back, and it was pretty priceless. So these are my photos, and it was a really, I'm a big Billy Preston. I'm a big music fan. This was my dream. Okay, we got to talk here. This is going to take a couple minutes. I don't care. So this is what it is. This tower, I'm going to talk the tower now. This tower was built to overlook MGM in the 50s. Yeah, this big veg tower, it looks like one of my forts. It's got a 10-story ladder. All the windows are facing the back lot. In fact, if MGM was shrewd, they would have stuck a guard up there in the daytime, because you could have seen all the stuff I do. You'd have seen me casing the place. You'd have seen me crossing the roads. You needed to have a guard up here, but they didn't. And so we have the history. I'm going to tell you the history. When I took these shots, something was going on over here. So this used to be a teen center, right? This used to be a teen center in the 70s. Me and Maureen were teenagers in here, and now we're talking old teenager stories to a bunch of old people, meaning we're all old. So we've seen all this change. And this was a teen center. And so Gerald was in charge of it. I've mentioned him before. He's passed away. And so production came over, because I didn't point this out about this tower, because I wanted to start with the tower. The tower was the clock of the back lot. The back lot, it was the official clock, because it made sounds. It donged. You don't have a clock with arms on the back lot. You have a clock that makes sounds, acoustics, or you have the acoustical clock, or you have a sand clock. You don't have arms. So what's going on here? This tower was beautiful, because it created, like, we wanted to hear what time it was, and it was a chorus of sounds. It was actually beautiful, and it was every hour. And so we used to have that. I don't know who remembers that. I sure do. So it was a clock. Hold on, you're not going to hurry me, because I got to talk about this. So what we have happened was, on Sergeant Pepper, and it's one of the last nights of shooting. The very last night, we had bad weather. We couldn't shoot until we get this in. This is like the wrap party night. And so what happens here is, the Christmas lights are on this building. The old stringing out Christmas lights, not the not the disco LED stuff you have here now. The old lighting of the church, or of the tower here, was affecting this shot, because they're going to be up in the sky. They don't want to see it. So they come over here to talk to Gerald and say, can you turn these lights off? And Gerald's pretty slick. I taught him well. He goes, no, not unless I get to meet the band. And they said, you can't do that. And he said, well, I can't do it either. They came back 10 minutes later and got him to bring him to the band. Now, I'm getting this from him, that story, because I'm on the lot getting in position to get these pictures. I'd rather have the pictures. But what he got to do was, for the younger people, those are huge mega stars. Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees. It's mega stars. And so he talked his way into going hanging with them and drinking. There was pallets of Heineken. Girls everywhere. This was like a party, okay? It was a main party. They're all chain smoking. Gerald's smoking with them. They did what they said, so he comes through, shuts the lights off. And so the band is up here. As you see it, the band's flying in the sky. They're partied out. They're shit-faced. I'm just telling you. And sorry. And so they do pyro. And you're not going to see this in the show. They edited it out. So they had pyro. The band's up there, and now boom, this is going to go off. And they took cover because they had to. They could get hit. And they cut that out. So that's one of my favorite pictures that I ever took. And you don't even get to see it in the show. And there's the band up in the sky, tower height. Okay, so this is some cool pictures. Just, that's sad. Here's that. They're tearing it down. Little Judy Garland train station. There you go. I tell you what, Sgt. Pepper was as big a musical as any of the things they've ever done here. Here's a clip. Yeah, speed. There's our tower. You saw that again. I'm telling you, the tower, you can't be in any window, any rooftop, anything without seeing this tower. It's like a periscope looking on the lot. It's it's a staple with the lot that I don't think people realize how impactful this tower is, why it was built, and what you see on the lot. You see this tower. This tower is the center of the universe. So I'm in love with it. It's built like a fort, like I told you, 10 stories high ladder. So there's his house, which I was in that house. Oh, this is cute. I found this fan mail on the lot. Look at that. So this is right after Boytown was made. So at that time, they had child Oscar winners, I do believe, yeah. And he won an Oscar for this, and Spencer Tracy, I think, won. So I think both people won. So look at that. That's what fan mail looks like. 1938, April 10. And they included money, so self-return stamped envelope type thing. And there's also one for Cecilia Parker, which was also in this series. Fan mail, which is priceless. You'd think, how did I come up with this stuff? But it was there. I mean, if you look and turn things over, you find stuff. This is crazy. So the Twilight Zone episode, The Shelter, I'm up in the balcony. So if you remember The Shelter where everybody wants to hide in the bomb shelter, I'm on that little balcony there, and we're partying there. So I'm glad you picked this shot, Mike. That's a party. Oh, I'm sure. So I got long hair and no shirt. And I'm up. Well, when this is now that house that you just saw burned down. There was a big fire in 19 whatever it was. Yeah. So and it wasn't because of me. Okay, I didn't. Don't go there. No. So here, I love that. So I love this.
Which one do you want?
Are you talking? I don't even care. I love them all. I mean, yeah. I mean that. So, but where that picture was taken, let me tell you that, because a lot of people, where's that angle? It's from the oversized prop warehouse, which is one of my favorite places, which has a ship in it and rocket ships and a sailing ship. So you could actually get on the roof, and that's where that angle was from, in case there's anybody that cares. And there. Time out. Stop. Hold on. Right there is where the camera would be to get that shot of whatever was that, Maple Street or stuff. Well, I don't think that was. But that wasn't that episode. Was that? Yeah, it was. Okay. And you're going to probably show the fire, I got a feeling, coming up. So there's old pictures of that. There's that shelter house again where I was up in the balcony. I've been up there. By the way, to get in that steeple, it's a 100-foot climb. And it's a long story. I can't even get into it, but I know what happened here. And it's disheartening. I was at Culver High watching a football game. Marine was being honored that night, and the ashes started falling over there, hot flaming ashes, and it was MGM. I had to leave the game and go back and see this fire. It was really amazing because the ashes, these things are all wood. The ashes carried all over the city. I mean, the fire department has to worry about the whole city, not just the back lot. And they did a great job. Culver City fought great fires here. I got to give, and the reason I say that because I was at Universal and I watched two Universal full big New York streets, which are enormous, burned to the ground. And we have our fire department on the lot. And I'm thinking, how are we not able to control these fires? All right, sorry, because I know I don't want to talk Universal, but God, you should see me over there. Okay, so this is a fire that happened, I just told you about. That's the next day. So all those columns, that's 2 years later. That's after Sergeant Pepper, so it doesn't really apply here. I know, I'm just saying. That replaced the church. Yeah, oh, there's that guy. And, yeah, well, they did a thing in 72 or 3 that 60 Minutes did, saying they're going to tear this lot down. And it didn't tear it down for a long time after that. So this is the lake, the Tarzan Lake. I spent many a time. There's with the rock formations. Me and Marine used to do a rowboat thing and listen to 93 KHJ and just float back there and dig it. It's like really cool stuff. This is what we call the Watermill House. It's getting dressed for Sergeant Pepper. They did hello, hello, goodbye with a bunch of farm animals. And then that was the last thing they did at this house. But we spent a lot of time at this house because it had a big paddle wheel, and I think we're going to see that. Well, yeah, that's me. I'm not proud of that picture, so. So here's the lake dried out. This is the end. When they dried that lake out, they're going to tear this down, and I was heartbroken because there's so many crawfish and fish that I wanted to save, and I did timeout because I took the crawfish with my 5-gallon bucket, rode my bike across town, and the mud smelled so bad on me because it was really putrid. But I brought them to Studio Estates to give these crawdads a life over there. And I'm hearing that they're there. So I kept the strain from, I care about this stuff. I hung out here. I love these things. I hung around with all the animals. I was hard. I cry on this stuff. So this is a plethora of stuff. Anyways, this is this famous picture I took, but I'm recreating a chase that happened the night before. So I'm in there with Jimmy the next day saying, so he got us all the way up to here. We had no choice. I had to jump. So we said, Jimmy goes, let me take a picture. Go ahead, jump out. So that's the day after of something I was being chased by a guard. Once again, I tell you, they won't jump. They won't do things like that. Once you jump or do some kind of climb that's slow, okay, forget that. Then you at least get a head start out of there. This is the original spot I came in at. No, that's all right. So as an example of these traveling cemeteries, this one, you know, I think this is the last location it ever ended up in. And it didn't burn, only the building burned. It didn't expand over this way. I don't know where those tombstones ended up, but they traveled everywhere. And if you see Logan's Run, you got their faces right there, Jenny Agutter and Richard York, and my God, we fell in love with Jenny Agutter on that show. I'm just going to stop there. You can read the books, but Jenny Agutter,
2 minutes.
it was,
2 minutes.
oh, get to the,
They're playing the music on you. All right.
okay, go to the videos. Just go to the videos. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I could talk about it all day. So just do, if you want Gene Kelly, and then I don't know what you want to do. You want to get the tear down? You're in charge now. Because I'm just jamming through it. Give me 5 minutes if you can. I put that helmet on, and it caused quite a ruckus. So I was, I don't even have time to tell the stories. So that's the Scoops, New York Street. Just get to a video because I think we're going to be hurting. I could go on forever.
Oh, here's your baseball.
We used to play baseball there. Long story. Yes, we did everything here, and that was. That's at the end where they barely filmed, but they still did do about 3 more films after I'm doing this. We played from like 78 to 80. We got chased and a lot of stuff happened. We actually got Culver City wrote me a ticket. I had to go to court on it, and I went for trespassing, and I went Culver City Police, and I showed the jury, the the judge, the pictures, and he looked at it, he goes, if I was there, I would have played with you, and he canceled the whole thing. So, and those pictures went through the courtroom, so that's my passing them around. We're just jamming now. These are just stories I could go on forever. If we're gonna you wanna just try to do the demo? Skip Gene Kelly? Gene Kelly's great. Oh, that was a great show. Because I'm just trying to comply to the rules. It already went by that quick? Really that? Wow. Well, there's my autographs, and I met them through Ken Hollywood, who introduced me to Gene Kelly. If I got to end this thing, I'm going to say it with a Gene Kelly story. So when he's coming out, that's entertainment. That's entertainment. Ken Hollywood, famous guard himself, says, hey, two guys are going to be coming out of here in a minute. And he hands me a pencil and a paper. And he goes, and so first Fred pulls out in a Rolls Royce, and you can see it's Fred, a top hat and all this. Okay. And he was nice. He signs, it just goes off. Now Gene's pulling out. We didn't even know it was Gene. It was like a 67 Impala. It was not fancy. So we're letting that guy go. And Ken's going, that guy. And then we realize it's Gene. And I go, Gene, can we get an autograph? He says, sure, let me pull over. So he pulls over, and just look at this. So he pulls over in front of the Thalberg building, and we start talking. He gives me undivided time. And I ask him, like, what was your favorite show you ever did? And he goes, I'm going to fool you on this. It's not a musical. And I know I'm pretty polished on his career. And I was going to say Black Hand or Three Musketeers. And before I could say it, he goes, Three Musketeers. And I'll tell you why. I had to learn all the sword fighting. And he's an athlete. He wanted to play baseball, blah, blah, blah. That's his passion. And I said, Gene, I can tell that's your favorite thing because you are so graceful at that. And then I had to point out to him that I go, Gene, I want you to know when it rains on the back lot, we go over to where you film that, and then we dance and sing in the rain, but mostly we just splash. And he gave me the Gene Kelly from ear to ear smile, and when he shook my hand, I didn't even wash it. I ran home to my mom, and she couldn't believe it. And
We do have time for about 1.5 questions. If there are any questions that people have for Donnie.
So I live in Studio Estates. Do you have a list of things that are filmed there?
Well, the question is, he's got a map overlay that's pretty neat for the people that are at Studio Estates. Things that are filmed there, it's everything MGM ever did on the back lot. So that's a question that's hard to answer. I mean, the whole place is a studio. By the way, we call it studio mistakes because MGM should never have sold that place, and they did such a poor job saving the history. I'm not knocking your community, but they didn't salvage anything of Hollywood. It's a total disappointment. I'm sorry, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
How many nights did you spend in jail?
No, and I love that question. Never been arrested. In fact, I've got commemoratory stuff from the police department because I've done stuff good. So no, I've never been arrested. That's a great question because I wanted to clear that up because that's what everyone thinks here. You can't trick a trickster. Okay, go for that.
How did you get your gig at Universal?
Say that?
How did you get your gig at Universal?
Well, out of the paper, you're gonna trip out on this. So I did real jobs. I worked for the gas company, I worked for the phone company, and I didn't like them. All right, I did a year there, because I had to do something. So actually, I got hired by MGM and worked in the film lab. Then that went under. Get the job out of Universal. I'd have a brochure paper, the Santa Monica Evening Outlook, hiring tram drivers. I had a commercial license from the gas company. I could drive a tram. So I went there and applied and got in. It was the funnest job ever. So oh my God, you can look up my Glamour Tram stories on my WordPress and get a taste of what that was like. So we're talking 80s craziness. And I'm driving trams and I'm loving life, man. And I also signed up for an apprenticeship that if it never came, I would have just been and plus a tram driver is studio transportation, so you work in shows too. It's your foot in the door. And I love the driving. Then I get an electrical apprenticeship, and that actually works with being a driver because then you can drive the production van, the power for the sets, which is a prestigious job. It keeps you working forever. So I had quite everything fell into place perfectly. So I went from Universal Tours, which we call the Hill, down to the lower lot. And then I was in charge of all the production power. So I was on every show. Every show went through me. So I wasn't just stuck on one thing. I had carte blanche, and then I'd have I'm just going to answer this question. So I had all the best boys call me when we're going to have a blow up, a stunt, because I filmed all my stuff. It became an issue, but I was filming a lot of stuff. I got more pictures of MGM and Universal than anyone on this planet. My Universal stuff's great, but I can't. This isn't a Universal crowd. And so I'll let it go with that. And any more questions? Fire away, please. I want more.
That's it? That's it, brother. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Big hand for Donnie Norton, please.